So, what has been your favourite conversation then? What's out of all the conversations we've had? What topic or what particular niche area? I don't care how big or how small you go. Have you enjoyed most? I'm going to go to Jen.
I don't know. I've been thinking about this, and I don't really have a favourite one because I've just really enjoyed all of them. And I honestly don't mean that as a cop out. It's just I've just really enjoyed all of it, because even the ones that I've come to and I've been a bit sort of like, don't know much about this. Like the esports one was probably the one that I found the most challenging so far, because I just don't know anything about esports, and I was really like, I don't know. But I found it really interesting because I learned loads of stuff, because you know, even if you come to it and it's not something that you know a lot about, or that you thought you cared a lot about, there's still always an angle that you can come at it from. And as Matt was saying, you know, the patriarchy is everywhere. So, you know, and issues around diversity and equality are important at all levels. So it's just a matter of finding, you know, that route in. So I've just really enjoyed all of the conversations, and I don't actually have a favourite. I mean, I think that on the show reel, you know, there's a lot of highlights from that I was like, oh yeah, that was really funny, and that was really funny. So, you know, for me, it was just across the board. I just really like that we are talking about this stuff. I think has been. I know that sounds like a cop out, but that is. No,
it's fine. You at least mentioned one specific thing, which the esports, which I think all of us did actually end up doing quite a lot of research for, because we knew nothing about esports, and then we all came to the conclusion that was esports' fault, not our fault. And it was esports that needs to change, and we'd care about it more if they did change. So, you know, that was all worthless stroke pointful research. Anyway, I did the words the wrong way around. So it was meant to be worthwhile, and then I realised what I'd done, and I couldn't double negative back
point
on
while.
Anyway, Matt, what's been your favourite conversation?
I just had a quick look back at the list of all our episodes. And I'll give an honourable mention to the episode where we had Kate Price on. I wasn't on that episode, so it was really interesting watching it from the outside, and I just loved that episode. I think that was a really wonderful experience to sit through. I think my favourite conversation has been the accessibility and disability episode, not just because I hosted it and because I was rather drunk while I did it. But it was really, it's becoming increasingly important to me for both my own health and the health of others in building how I'm viewing the world in the best way to just experience things, to enhance your quality of life. You need to have accessibility and disability. That needs to be the first step whenever you do anything, because we've been really good on it, and now we're enshrining it into our own methods and practices in order to carry on doing this. And seeing the protest recently about how I think it's 91% of COVID deaths are disabled people. And disabled people come last, are always put last, but they need to be first. And I'm really, I've experiencing it in this space has been a way to actually live the experience that other people need to see. So that's a very important part of it for me.
Just the stat on that, because it astounds me, is that it's 91% that disabled people are 91% more likely to die of COVID, and that was after controlling for health conditions. That statistic, which means that's not just not that it should be anyway, but it's not just health conditions that are cause of that. So, rightly so, our Women's Equality Party colleagues were protesting in London about this yesterday by Millicent Fawcett. And there's a lovely coverage of it in the Independent today, or the iNews. I still don't know what the difference is between iNews and the Independent, but anyway, there's a lovely piece of coverage about that there. And you slightly stole my answer, so I'll mention it now, which was when I was editing the show reel together, that was the show actually that stood out to me, that I, possibly because we both had a bit to drink that night, Matt, that I didn't remember very well. But on rewatching it to edit it, I was like, oh, that was really interesting. Oh, that was really interesting. And like, it was one that I found it really hard to cut out lots of bits of it. And I think there was some really, and it was one of the ones that I know I definitely went into that show with trepidation of, I don't know enough to talk about this subject and I don't want to come off as ill thought out. I like to tend to try and be knowledgeable with what I say, believe it or not. And I was really worried going into that show, but actually it opened up so much interesting thoughts and discussion that it actually was more a fact-finding mission than anything. Alex, what conversations have you enjoyed the most?
Well, I was going to give an honourable mention to the accessibility episode because obviously it's really there's a strong personal connection with me, obviously being a disabled woman, and I feel like, even myself, obviously, I didn't feel like I was an expert on the subject at all. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do with accessibility that I don't know much about, and I still need to learn more about. And I think that episode was a really good starting point to build on. And I just think it was we had some really good discussions in that episode. But my answer to your question is in fact going to be the episode that we did gaming, because it helped me sort of reframe my ideas of board gaming and where it sits within gaming as a whole, and also about board games and feminism. Feminism works within board games as well, because that's something I never really thought about until we actually sat down and talked about it. And in fact, it is obviously, there is a problem there within board games as well, because it's like we say, the patriarchy is everywhere. But until you sit down and look at it properly, you don't think, oh, well, actually, that's not quite right there. Maybe we should do something about that. But it was just a bit of an eye-opener of an episode, but also a really nostalgic one as well, because it allowed us time to reflect on our favourite board games of childhood and all that sort of thing. So for me, it was very nostalgic, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought we had a lot of fun.
What you just
go on, Matt.
What you just said, what you said at the start about the you and Caroline both saying about not wanting to approaching the accessibility topic, going, oh, I don't know everything about this. I don't want to come across as like ill thought out. And my perspective on what we've been doing and things in general is, because we know gaming and we know feminism, we're not novices. We're not coming into this at entry level going, oh my God, I have no idea what any of this means. What we've got is we've got our working knowledges of things. We're all four different people with four different perspectives. And we're very introspective, and we have lots to say about lots of things. So I think the main thing of coming in is to just arrive, have our rough framework, which is what we always do, and then we can be authentic, because that's what comes through. Because if we just had with the accessibility episode, for example, I only know my experience with mental disabilities. I don't know anything about physical disabilities and the access that gets in the way of. I know it's a massive problem. And so that's the only assumption I think I came into that episode with, was not having any expectations, but just that I trust that if we sat down without a plan, we'd have an hour's fun conversation. So that's why I worry. It worries me. It doesn't worry me so much.
Yeah, I'm glad you have faith in that. I am terrified we're going to run out of things to say. But, that's just me. That's my general concerns. The favourite show for me, the favourite conversation for me was, and again, it was a real shame you weren't there, Matt, because I really missed you being there for it, was the E3 conversation, because preparing for that show forced me to immerse myself in games in a way that I haven't done in decades, possibly. It was to really go, right, okay, I'm going to watch every single trailer at E3. I'm going to watch as many panels as I can. I just sat there with YouTube channels with 3 days worth of, I think it was like 8 hours on 2 of the days and 5 hours on one of the other days, and just going through that footage was just, as I say, it really inspired me. It's just made me go, whoa, games are amazing. And there is so much good stuff out there. There's too much. It's like when you're trying to read every book in the world, there's too many games, but it has. And what that show did, and I am segueing, but it was also my point, it has really got me playing some different games. It has really got me out of my, I'm only going to play the same games I always play over and over again. And I appreciate, like, you guys playing AAA story games, that's probably less of a problem for you because, you know, you get to the end of one and then the big new thing comes out. But when you do play a lot of sort of first-person shooters and sort of the big multiplayers online and stuff, it becomes really easy to just, I'll just play Rust, or I'll just play COD, or I'll just play the same thing that I played every day, with a few other changes. But so not this week, and the last 2 weeks, I have now got on my Nintendo Wii U, which, because I'm old school, I haven't got around to Switch yet. I'm getting one next week. But on my Wii U, I'm currently playing Breath of the Wild. On my PC, I'm replaying Dragon Age. And on my PlayStation 4, I am playing Final Fantasy VII, the remake, which I've never even played the original. I've never played any Final Fantasy game, sorry. Please at me from the show. But it's just been brilliant. It's just been so sort of like, my gaming horizons are open again. So